Hey guys, it's Alyssa here, and today I shall be talking about all the books that I read in April. April wasn't the best reading month for me. I could have done better, but we're not going to focus on it. We're just going to hope that May is a lot better than April was. I read a total of 6 books in April. I read a total of 1,499 pages. I don't know how I got that number. And I also read a total of 5 5-star books and 1 4-star book. So even though it wasn't a good number of books that I read, I enjoyed everything I read. So that is amazing. I'm just gonna go in the order that I read them. The first book that I read in April was The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was absolutely amazing. By far, Ruth Ware's best book. I've read every book by her except for The Death of Mrs. Westaway, and I love Ruth Ware. I have many of her books. I think all of them except for the 2 most recent ones, and I stand by her, honestly, and I think she's getting much better. Like, I think she's getting even better as each book goes along. Even a lot of her earlier books that I think a lot of people didn't like or didn't think were that great, I still enjoyed and I still think about, honestly. And I really loved this one. I did not expect the twists and turns it was gonna take. It shocked me to my core. I actually got emotional at the end of it, which doesn't really happen in thrillers. I loved having an unreliable narrator, which was really interesting. You didn't know, but you kind of knew that this narrator, something was going on, and boy, was it crazy. I loved this. I devoured it. It's definitely going into the top books of 2020 because it was just that great. The next book was also a thriller and also a book that I rated 5 stars, and that was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. Don't know how to pronounce this name. I really enjoyed this as well. Now, whereas with like the Turn of the Key, I enjoyed from the very beginning. I kept enjoying. I thought was a overall solid book. This took me a while to know whether or not I was gonna like it. Probably honestly almost halfway through, which it's a very quick book. It doesn't take long to finish at all. It goes by super fast, but it probably wasn't until halfway through that I realized that I was gonna like it and I wasn't gonna hate it. Not everything in this book is shocking or wow, unbelievable, but there's just something about unlikable characters that I really love. And this book had that. This book also had an unreliable narrator. Definitely trigger warnings though for descriptions of self-harm. You don't hear about somebody self-harming, but you hear about the descriptions of somebody who had self-harmed, and it's mentioned multiple times throughout the book. If you don't know, this is a book that takes place in a facility with criminals with mental health issues. But that being the case, it isn't like a book centered around mental health, and I don't think, from what I could tell and from what I listened to, was anything that was triggering other than what I mentioned. At first, I was worried that it was going to use mental health as a plot device, and it didn't, luckily. It shocked me to my core, and I can understand why it was a book that was talked about a lot last year. The reason I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it or not was because I wasn't sure if the author was trying to get us to like the main character, like the narrator. I wasn't sure. And then once I realized we weren't supposed to, then I was like, okay, I'm down. But what I don't like is when I'm supposed to like a character and then I don't. That's when I don't like it. I don't mind characters that are purposely made to be not liked. It's when they're like supposed to be liked and I don't like them and I don't like what they're doing is when I have a problem. The next book is A Treacherous Curse by Deanna Raybourn, and it is the 3rd book in the Veronica Speedball series, and I absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Cliffhanger, to say the least. Very excited to start the next one. I don't know when I'll be able to get my hands on it, but I am very excited to continue on in this series. This is a Victorian era set mystery series, and it has a slow burn romance, and it has a very fierce female main character, and she is very kick butt. I live and die by this series. I do. If you've read this series and you know of any series similar to it, please leave me your recommendations down below. I would love to know if you've read anything similar to the Veronica Speedwell series, because I would love to read more like it. The next book that I read was a classic, and it was one of the books that I had picked for the reading rush for this month. I did put a Treacherous Curse on that TBR, so I did complete that. I don't know which challenges I ended up completing. It wasn't really like a big goal of mine, and I didn't finish this book during that readathon, but I finished it after, and that is Anne of Windy Poplars by Ella Montgomery. This is the 4th book in the Anne of Green Gables series, and I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved this. Enjoyed the way this was written, which was mostly through letters that she was writing. She's away right now in this book doing a teaching job for, I think it was 3 years. And she does a lot of the plot happens through letters that she sends back. And I enjoyed that a lot. At first I was like, wait, am I gonna like this? Is this gonna be like a format that fits a series? And it worked really well. So I'm so pumped to read the next book in this series in May. I am so excited. I want to really finish this off because I'm really loving this, and I love Anne, and I think she's so kind and so smart and so sweet, and just I love her. She's so fun, and the eccentric people in this book were so amusing. And let me just tell you, if you've read this book, you know about the one character who is in her late 20s, and she's talking about becoming an old maid, and no one is going to marry her, and all of her younger siblings are going to get married, and she's just going to be all alone. Wow, I relate a lot to that. I was like, that's me right there. The second to last book that I read was a graphic novel, and that was Little Josephine, Memory in Pieces. And this was written by somebody and then illustrated by somebody else. And I think it's like nonfiction-ish type of thing. It's basically about like a medical professional talking about how she deals with a patient who has dementia. And it takes place in France and talks a lot about how the elderly are treated in France, especially elderly who don't have anybody and need help and assistance and all that stuff. And it was heartbreaking, and I wouldn't recommend anybody read it right now with the current things going on that's making everybody stressed out. But I don't want to say enjoyed it, but I thought it did a really good job of combining dialogue and artwork to tell a story. Just a daily occurrence in my neighborhood. This was very touching, I would say. That's the word I would use to describe it. I liked the ending because it ended on a very real note. It didn't wrap up. It just ended, which is, it felt very much like, wow, this is real life. The very last book that I read in April was Winky Babbit by Shel Silverstein. I listened to this on an audio, and it was so good. Oh my god. I was literally laughing out loud listening to this. Laughing out loud. If you enjoy Shel Silverstein's other books, I recommend this so much. I feel like it's not like as well known as his other books because this was, I guess, published after he had died, but it was so funny. It was hilarious. I enjoyed it so much. It's really short. It's, I think, under 100 pages, and it was just delightful. If you don't know who Shel Silverstein is, he was a children's poet, and his work is phenomenal, and the stuff I will be reading for the rest of my life because it's hilarious. My back hurts. I'm gonna go. This was a very brief wrap-up, honestly, because I just read a lot of either books that I can't talk a lot about because they're thrillers, or continuations in series where I can't really elaborate. I didn't do my TBR jar in this video. I did it in my last video, which if you didn't see my May TBR, you should go and watch that to see what I'm gonna be up to in May. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, if you enjoyed any of them. If you didn't, let me know. And what you read in April, what your favorite book was. I'd love to know. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I shall see you in the next one. Bye.